Okay, so I am Jeremiah Shipp from Winston-Salem State University. You can scan that QR code or I believe contact if you would like to. But briefly, I just want to provide an overview of our draft project, which began as a pilot, emerged into a full-fledged project, examining how we integrated the use of Adobe Express with our faculty into their classes and with our students. And then we'll have an opportunity for some conversation and opportunity if you have never used Adobe Express before to actually create a digital artifact that you can take back to your respective campus. Y'all ready? So when we talk about thinking about the theme for why we are here today for IDX, we want to focus this session on the importance of intentional learning partnerships. And so Winston-Salem State University, which is located in the beautiful city of Winston-Salem, we are an Adobe Creative Campus. And so what that means is that all of our faculty, staff, and students have free access to the entire Adobe Creative Cloud suite. We became the first HBCU, historically Black college and university, to earn this recognition in 2018. And since that time, there are a multitude of campuses, not only HBCUs, but others within the United States and abroad who are a part of this Adobe partnership. And the whole focus on, as we just heard in the opening session, not so much just inserting technology for the purposes of inserting it because we like it, but how it aligns with your specific learning outcome, how it's going to help our students to develop necessary and critical skills so they prepare for their respective careers. And so with that, you can see here, Winston-Salem State University is among the many. So when we think about within the UNC system, you'll see Wilmington and Fayetteville State and others that are considered now Adobe Creative campuses. And so with that, again, as we began our partnership with Adobe in 2018, Adobe has an initiative called Adobe for All. And so their Adobe for All initiative really aligns with the strategic plan of our institution, which is currently Unleash the Genius, but there is some rebranding that is occurring there. We're really focusing and looking at, there is a commitment within that strategic plan focused on the intellectual climate of our campus and the focus on increasing interdisciplinary research. And so as the teaching and learning center of our institution and leveraging this partnership, we were very intentional about how can we increase and scale the use of the Adobe applications on our campus to ensure that someone who's in English or someone who may be in nursing or occupational therapy or business who may not feel that their specific discipline has any type of technological use, how it can be beneficial for them reaching not only their learning outcomes, but also setting our students apart as they prepare to leave our institutions and to go into their respective careers, being able to use technology to really help them sell and market themselves and set themselves apart in the marketplace. And so to support this particular initiative, we, Winston-Salem State University, were the recipients of a $1 million grant from the Adobe Foundation. And as a part of this grant, which led to us launching this initial DRAC pilot, which became a full project, we took a space on our campus, which is located in our library, and we were able to retrofit that into this Adobe Media Lab. And so in this space, which you'll see here, we have a lightboard room, a video production room where students, faculty, staff, alumni, community members can come in, record videos if they need to have resources to support them as they're preparing for lectures. Our enrollment management team has used it a lot to kind of host town halls with current and or prospective students and their families. Students who would like to do modeling and things of that nature will use the space. And they can be in Brazil and everywhere else that you want to with the green screens that they have. We also have a maker space where students are able to come to receive classes and workshops on how to use the various tools. Faculty host sometimes classes in this space. We also have a opening area. There is a podcast room that's become very popular. So students who have their own business are using the space for podcasting, some of our alumni, and their faculty are also using it as they are integrating, and many are making the transition from your traditional 10-page written paper that's going to be submitted in Microsoft Word. Many of them are now converting that into a podcast where students are still developing those critical writing, reading skills, etc. But they're able to do so in a different format that definitely scales their reach beyond just uploading a paper file into Canvas. And so with this grant, we were able to build this space or retrofit this space and then launch this particular pilot project. And so I want to share some of it about the project itself. And so we started the pilot in the academic year of 2023, 2024. And as a part of this, there was, of course, agreements that we need to establish with the faculty who were going to participate. It was open to all of our faculty. And so in that recruitment process, there were no restrictions on disciplines who could participate. And again, going back to our strategic plan and trying to foster more interdisciplinary research and collaboration, we wanted to make sure that everyone could participate who chose to do so. Faculty did complete a pre-survey to identify at least one digital tool that they would implement into one of their courses. And again, not just selecting a tool because it's pretty. And I'm a fan also of Padlet too. You're not even listening, but I love Padlet too. But in selecting the tool, how does it actually align with your learning outcomes for the course? And so students also completed a pre-survey so we could collect some data from them as well on their use of technology. And everyone signed all of the necessary documentation. And as our director frequently says, that if there is no data, then it didn't exist. And so we want to make sure that we are documenting what we are doing or we're preparing to do. Then the second component of that, we did create, because our campus does use Canvas, so we created a course shell that we call the Digital Rounds Across Campus, or DRAC shell, that housed all of the pertinent information that will assist the faculty who will be participating in the project. Resources, templates, other things that they could use to download to assist them with creating their assignments in the course, etc. Faculty at the end had to submit at least 2 student exemplars from their course. So they had the latitude to select which tool they were going to use and then what type of assignment that they would select for their students to complete. And then at the end of that semester, they needed to select what they considered to maybe be the best 2 from their class that was created. And we used all of this to be able to then show to our Adobe partners what we did, the impact that it had, and how we integrated it into the curriculum. In addition to the students submitting, their digital artifact, we asked our faculty as well to create a video journal to really reflect on their experience that semester, the process of them integrating the technology, pain points, things that went well, etc. And so I'll be able to share a few of those examples with you today. And so again, going back to this concept of intentionality, while our focus as a teaching and learning center, of course, is on faculty, we indirectly impact our student population. And so the same way that you say that you all like food, we love food in the city. I am the resident baker for our department. And so anytime we're having food, did not make those. Okay. But anytime we're doing anything with food, my first question before we've decided what protein and vegetables, what are we having for dessert? I think that establishes everything else that we're going to do. And so we wanted to make sure in launching the project, we wanted to get faculty excited about it, for them to fully engage. And so we had a dessert bar that we did at the beginning of the semester that was open for not only the faculty participating, but then also their students. So they were able to come in, get them a cupcake, cookies. We had the pretzels and all kind of things, just a sugar high. And so they were very excited. They received a T-shirt, then identifying that they were participating, in this DRAC project. We also did a initiative during the project, and in the middle here is Miss Dominique Johnson and two of her students, where they had the opportunity to complete a number of Adobe classes online. And then I think the professor whose class completed the most won an iPad and I think some other digital technology. And so this was an event that we had where we recognized that faculty member and then two of the students from her class who had completed multiple of those Adobe webinar courses related to the technology that was being integrated. And so by doing these things, this really helped with, again, strengthening the partnerships among individuals where people who don't typically collaborate together, someone in English and someone in occupational therapy, having conversations of how they're integrating technology and how it could be useful in both of their courses, even though they're coming from two completely distinct and different disciplinary contexts. And so faculty had the opportunity, again, to choose which Adobe application they wanted to integrate into their course. And so at the beginner level, we had many of the faculty selected either Adobe Express or Premiere Rush. The kind of intermediate was InDesign and Audition. And then for those who were really brave, ventured into Premiere Pro. I like to use the example that if you've ever watched Netflix, Hulu, Paramount, etc., many of those companies use Premiere Pro for their editing. So you're really getting high quality, Grammy Award winning content. And so there were few who were willing to venture into that land, but for those that did, they really did a good job. Some of the data, again, we had 23 faculty who participated. We were able to reach over 900 students that academic year. Our team was served as facilitators or coaches for those faculty members. We touched over 23 course sections, and then it did include all of the academic disciplines on our campus, which at our school we refer to as CASB, the School of Health Sciences, and then also University College. And so to assist us with our data collection before we launched the project, there were pre and post surveys. We had those opportunities for faculty to come together and then also interviews with students. So we had a combination of both quantitative and qualitative data. So I want to share with you just a few examples of what our faculty created. And so we had one faculty member who teaches biology. She used Adobe Express to have her students to actually create what she did as an exit ticket for her class. And so the students were able to then summarize, what were three things they learned in that particular class session, two things that they found interesting, and one thing that they found confusing. And she would use that as the launching pad for the next course, for the next class period, and being able to have all of this information in single location. For another class, the faculty member had their students to create something called a life map. For those of you who may teach either a synchronous or asynchronous online class, we've all had the experience of kind of the dreaded discussion board. You make your initial post, reply to two people. Please don't just say, I agree. It's just death by discussion board. And so this faculty member, even though it's a face-to-face course, and for some of them we're also teaching online, this was a quick way to really get to know your students and really humanize the experience. And so by creating this life map, they had the students to reflect upon, because they're teaching a social justice course, what were some of the defining moments in your academic journey prior to coming to this course. And so this particular student, using Adobe Express, created this web page where they defined what social justice is to them, reflecting on, where they were born, how they made their transition to Winston-Salem State University, and really began to capture around our community in the triad what were some significant milestones or markers related to social justice. And so they started talking about their upbringing in high school, transitioning into the election of President Obama in 2008, the killing of Trayvon Martin in 2012, the first election of President Trump in 2016, the death of George Floyd, et cetera, et cetera. And so so you can actually see the student. This is the student who created this. So this really helped to amplify all of this you would not have received from just your traditional discussion board where you're introducing yourself and what your major is and why you're taking this class. This really allowed each student to really personalize their experience and connecting it to what they were planning to learn in that course, and really gave the instructor a different lens on the students that they were teaching. And it allowed them to now have a digital, almost resume, so to speak, kind of about themselves that they could use in their portfolios moving forward. Another faculty member in our communication and media studies, she has an assignment where they reflect on a movie. And so because this is a communication course, she had them to review a movie called Two Can Play That Game. Anybody familiar with that? It's pretty old. No. No. Okay, so go look it up and watch it. And so using Adobe Express, the students then had a series of questions that they were reflecting on and analyzing, really examining from the lens communication from the perspective of the different relationships that were occurring in the movie. And so the students created this, and they were able to document and pull out the different communication styles they were seeing in the movie and how it related to the theory that they were learning in the course. And so instead of just students writing a paper to document this, they were able to then create a digital and visual analysis of what was occurring and really helping them to make the connection between theory and application. And so because this movie is solely focused on the interpersonal relationships, it really helped the students to be fully immersed in the learning experience. And then my favorite one was from our education department, where the students had to create a artifact for a potential class that they would be teaching in either for elementary education. And this particular student decided to create a math book focused on fourth graders and how to teach them fractions. And so she used Adobe Express to do this, and creating her own little textbook that would be focused again on fourth graders, really walking them through understanding the numerator, the denominator, understanding the fractions, how do they get the parts, et cetera, et cetera. And so this really helped the students to be fully immersed in their learning, but doing so in a different way, beyond some of the traditional things that we would do by incorporating technology in the process. So I showed you a few examples of what our faculty have created. And so upon completion, again, we asked our faculty to create some video journals, and I won't go through all of the journals. But one faculty member I do want to highlight, she teaches biology. And so what she did, using TikTok as her premise, she had her students to then create what she called BioTalk videos. And this was their way of being able to take a concept that they were learning in the class, and then they needed to reteach it to their peers, but they can only do it in a condensed time frame in the same amount of time that you would consider an actual TikTok video. And so what she found is not only did student engagement increase, but their retention of the information as they're learning a lot of that foundational terminology in this gateway course really increased their retention in the course and their performance on examinations, because they were receiving the information in a different format versus just reading it in a textbook, but watching their peers reenact and perform it in the video helped with their recall. And so some of the lessons learned, because we are a small team, we needed to reduce the number of events that we had. I only highlighted kind of the dessert bar and the giveaway that we did, but two of my colleagues are here. We were tired, y'all. We felt like event planners. We were doing all this things. So it was like, okay, when we do this the next time, we need to scale back. We'll have a beginning event and a closing event. Like it was a lot. Also, we needed to initiate the process for getting faculty who participated their stipends earlier. We all work at institutions, and so business processes, I see the heads nodding. So we needed to just start the process a little earlier to make sure everybody was paid on time. And then it also really just encouraged us, as it relates to our strategic plan, to continue to increase the number of digital initiatives that we were doing with our faculty because of the impact that it was having, not only on our faculty, but then also on our students. And so I want to give us an opportunity, because this is supposed to be an interactive session, for us to actually engage in using Adobe Express. So how many people took the time, you should have gotten it on the Padlet, to actually download if you didn't already have it Express? So a couple of hands. If you did not, you're still a part of our class. And so if you will, you can scan the QR code, or you can go to the Padlet that was sent out. And it does have instructions on how you can download either on your desktop or your mobile device, if you have a Mac or a PC, etc.
Can I ask a question before we get to this? How did you teach the faculty to use these? Because I can see that our faculty would be like, I have no idea how to use those things. How am I going to get students to use those things?
So to assist with them becoming acclimated, one thing that we found is some of them say, you know what, I've never used it before. Or others who wanted to venture into maybe the intermediate or the advanced felt like, how can I give my students an assignment and I really don't know how to use this technology? So we did several things. We offered workshops for faculty to attend, to learn. We also already had a resource library on our city YouTube channel that they could refer to. And then in addition to that, as an Adobe Creative Campus, we have access to the Adobe Education Exchange, where faculty could complete self-paced courses to acclimate them. And then fourthly, because we have this new lab, our library staff were able to provide training for the students. And so many of the faculty members really would consider themselves, per se, experts in the applications, but their students could still come and receive support and training so that they could complete the assignments successfully. So those were kind of our 4 plans of attack. Okay. So if you have been able to get to the Express download, I created what I'm calling our IDX participant guide. And so what we're going to do is you're actually going to create, and this is using Adobe Express, the web page version. You'll see that there are different sections. And so I've listed some instructions for you. So for the digital integration section, what you're going to do is you'll select add your image. This will give you the opportunity. You can either pull on an image, upload an image you have on your computer, or you can do a search for a new photo, or you can use generative AI to create you an image related to digital integration. And then you just want to answer the question, which you can type over the information here. What tool or tools do you believe have interdisciplinary appeal and learning efficacy for your campus community? And so you'll follow the same format for each of the sections that are listed in here. And then at the very end, you're going to share your presentation with me. And the way to do that, you're going to select share at the top of the screen. And you're going to say invite collaborators. And you'll just enter my email address, and then it'll send the link to me. And that'll be our way of being able to share out to the group what we've created in the short time that we have. So any questions?
Get to that, the template thing that you created?
I'm also going to post it in the Padlet,
Okay.
the link to, if you have.
And I think the first thing you have to do, because we don't have all these controls, is there's a little button up in the corner that says remix. And you have to hit remix, and then you have to sign in.
Yeah, once you click on remix, it'll take you directly to the page. You don't have to retype all the information I just showed you. It'll already be there.
It does want me to sign in when I click remix this stuff. So I would need
So you'll
to
sign in
account?
with whatever you just used to create your account.
Oh, so I need to create an account. Gotcha. Or if I have
And
a
it's
university
recommended,
account.
yeah, it's recommended to use a personal email address versus your campus. If you already have like a license on your campus,
Can I do that then?
you can.
Okay.
But if you don't already have,
Got
you may want to use yours.
Oh, okay. Just trying to get to the remix. Oh.
This morning. Jeremiah, can you put those, can you put the flip up there again? So I know where-
QR code.
Was it the QR? Yes.
Was it QR code?
Right, that's it.
All right. Thank you.
Gotta be a good teacher, so I gotta walk around to make sure.
Well, I'm doing something else.
Oh,
I got
like a typical student.
an emergency provost message. So,
We were recording.
Which is up.
no, but you're not there.
This is grant, by the way, whatever photo you want to put there, depending on what.
Artwork. They have a part of their Adobe for All initiative, and so they put out a call for proposal submissions, and so proposals submitted.
Because like when I was in Radford, I had to use Adobe, everything about Adobe for free. But then when I moved to another university, it's just for communication students only. They have access to Adobe and stuff like this. So I used all when I wanted because I have to create an account.
Right.
And I used all my usernames. I don't have anything to use. I'm gonna watch those the events. And I was surprised when you said on Italians.
Yeah, one year.
Too much. Wish we can get something like this.
It's not.
We all have there.
No.
Yeah, just, are y'all want?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay. You said only one.
The communication, visual arts.
Oh, okay.
But I've got it over. Student work with the
Yeah, so one thing that has worked in the past. Watches this for
Nice to meet you. Thanks for joining us. Did you get your folder?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, that makes me happy. This is so cool. I still play around
Yeah,
with the Adobe Express websites, but I think it's so cool. Sure. Graphics.
Yeah.
Mary.
And it may work, but at least you'll see.
I'm from Radford.
Because it's only on here, it's easy for everyone.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Great.
Uh-huh.
Sign in. Using some information.
Yes.
And with my GA and the weekly everything and then my grade immediately.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Like, this may work for them. A lot of campuses do that departmentally, but your rep.
That's
sales or so they don't want to give at least one or two people a license in another department with the hope that department. It'll at least give you access.
It's unfortunate I didn't get a chance, but they said as a student I can get a discount. Being
But you're a
nine
graduate
graduates.
student.
I'm graduate, yeah.
Okay, do you have a assistantship job?
Yes, I have student shouting.
Still consider.
No, yeah, I have to work with departments that they use this software. Like for example, visual art.
Now, that's what Virginia Tech is saying.
This is the policy, only the student who are using this
Okay.
software,
Okay,
they give them this support.
okay. Yeah, well, I was thinking. Yeah, because
So
if you
it
work
depends-
out.
So for us, it depends on the department for
Yes.
us, and I'm like an PhD student, you know.
Mhm,
So if your department uses this software, then okay, you get it for free. If
mhm,
you department, for example, school of education,
mhm.
no one knows uses.
I don't go to school of education.
Yes.
It's-
We don't use it, which is weird.
Yeah, Well, I was gonna say, try that out, that might work, not with your campus, but with whomever. There's the licenses to.
Yeah,
for
there's some
purchasing.
change for IT
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
So I said, maybe.
yeah.
Should we get something?
What are you doing in your PhD?
So education psychology.
Okay.
I have just to defend.
Oh, you're very good. You're a doctor.
Then I'll be long.
Yeah.
Like got to know like crazy about AI and doing AI. They're gonna how to communicate with AI. So I was thinking,
I always tell my doctoral students, what you'll do is say, you're already out there because you know your research said it is one. So that's the easy part.
so you know, like, and I don't graduate from doing that. So I said, I'm on friends till next year semester. And right now, do more work, collaborate,
That's not serious.
ideas, see where we are, where you guys, where you like.
We are, that's what one of our presentations is next. It's, we're calling ourselves digital pioneers. Because we're really just starting getting our out to what we're trying to break down. It's no things and myths and
Yeah,
fear.
I've been speaking in Red Bull Arch, pastor.
Yeah.
I stuff, and a lot, but we have the information. Yeah. The fears in the world. So everything else, very high, it's really this and this and this. But this time we have some of them against it.
Oh, yeah, I think that's it everywhere. But it's just like.
But you
Tell
don't
us.
see, like,
Yeah.
someone said about focus on the integrity rather than this integrity, because
Yes.
I mean, people are gonna use it.
You may not be able to complete it, but it may take about maybe 3 more minutes or so to insert what you can.
40 years now. So you can always think that. Just choose. Did you send that? Okay, so I got a survey from graduate students with similar, with a similar topic, you know, so it's wondering if that was you.
And especially not to use. And you get the experience. No experience shows the issue.
That's the key, educated people, the positives and how to use it. Yes. Mhm. Yes, this is one of the other examples from our faculty.
Well, we do need one.
But
We
it's
still have
embedded in this presentation on Patterns.
non-technically. Functional.
Because y'all are in that.
Yeah.
Or
On to-
you're black expert, but it's near.
That's what I'm saying.
You are done.
Rams.
This is one in Pennsylvania. It was just that.
Did I-
I was supposed to use an arch. You know, it was just a university in Pennsylvania.
Christmas cake.
They also there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that stuff.
Okay, I know you weren't able to finish, but how, if you got it downloaded, what did you find in terms of the ease of usability?
I have a lot of feedback, but it's very critical.
Go ahead.
So going through it, it wasn't exactly intuitive which plus signs meant what where. So like I see, for example, you have it up there, there's a plus above this and a plus below this, and doesn't mean I can add something. That UX makes sense to me, but what the intention was of where I should add stuff made me feel like I wasn't following the rules that were set, but there also weren't rules. So like when I feel like I can't do what's asked of me, it makes it difficult for me to engage with it. So I ended up just finding a plus kind of nearby somewhere and typing in my answers and putting in my pictures. So, but this is mobile, so I don't know if the intention is generally have students do it on a computer, in which case that makes more sense to things will be set up. But like mine set things up to where it's not left to right and it said to the right, but everything was top down all the way on mobile for me. So it was like, okay, which pictures associated with which text box too? So just a bit of that for me, but otherwise it was pretty easy to engage with and type stuff. It didn't make me jump through a bunch of hoops to type things and just have them post. I didn't have to click save or done. So that was really nice. So anyway, all right.
Working on a laptop, I didn't even basically see those additional plus signs. I just ignored it and followed the instructions and just typed into the instructions. So I thought it was a lot easy. I thought it was pretty easy to do. Like most things, I would probably spend forever choosing my photo. Limited time. I changed the first one like 5 times. So but I think this is great if you can have a template like this for people to use. That would be easier than trying to start from scratch. But this is the first time I've used this. I can see how it would be very useful. I mean, just using something like this for, introductions instead of the discussion board, put a picture that means something to you and it tells something about it, something like that. I like it.
To varying, which is good though to have what the experience is like for faculty, but then also students, depending on what type of device you're accessing the technology from. And so when you're thinking through, as we heard in the opening session, being very intentional and critical about the why behind it, you also want to think about what are the potential pain points that people may run into and how they're accessing the technology. And is it going to become a barrier or is it really going to be, a benefit to what you're trying to do?
Shipp, I'm curious to know each of their disciplines because we know that people more graphically techy don't like Express.
Instructional media designer.
There you go.
Instructional designer, but I don't do.
What's your background?
Media. I'm just basically a consultant, right?
Okay.
So
I
Okay.
build courses, have to do all the graphic
Design.
design for them.
Okay. Yes.
I don't do that.
So typically graphic designers are like, this is just
Yeah.
too restrictive.
Yes. Yeah.
To that point, speaking of, this would be great to put in a class. I see it replacing a discussion board, and that would be more engaging. A question that you may have said it in your thing, and I just missed it. How does hosting work for this in terms of where is it hosted? How do we access it? What are the hoops to jump through to some degree? Because it seemed like students would have to sign up to some degree, so we have to do that. And then it's also a bit of because I just want to say onboarding for faculty might be a concern, which I feel that too, because anything new for faculty sometimes is that's too much effort. I'm not doing it. I know this. I'm going to stick with that. Then my thought is those people then have to tell their students what to do. Were you and your team specifically facilitating helping the students when you launched this for the grant, or was that left to the faculty?
Left to the faculty.
Okay.
And so on our campus, our Office of Information Technology is basically the host for all of the software. And so in order to access it, you submit what we call a RAM ticket. Which would then allow them to download it using their institutional email address and password. Once they've done that, the faculty, depending upon which application they decided to use, they could then come to our library staff who can teach and empower them on how to use it, even if the faculty member has never really touched it before. I would also encourage, in addition to the discussion board, and I think I used the example when you think about a traditional Microsoft Word 5-page research paper, allowing students to maybe do their paper in this digital format where they're able to incorporate not only the written text with great, grammar, syntax, etc., but you can incorporate those other visual elements, including alt text for accessibility. You can have videos that are incorporated as well. And so traditionally you submit a paper in Canvas, Moodle, Blackboard, whatever your campus uses. The only person that sees it is the student and their professor. Now, similar to with social media, because it can be shared anywhere, they can add this to their digital portfolio. They can put it on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, wherever. And so you're really increasing your viewership of your content and how it relates to whatever discipline that you're in. And it's not, I don't want to use the word, but it's not incarcerated to your LMS. You can be free and go anywhere with it. Then too, with the remixing ability, you know, if you have an assignment in your class and you have a specific template and guide that you want students to use, they still have to fill in the content, use their own creativity, personality, and things, but they're not restricted, or you're not getting such A to Z of content that's all over the place that really doesn't adhere to what you're looking for. And it can reduce the number of questions and emails that faculty are receiving. Like, what you want me to do? This is kind of the parameters, but you can still use your own creativity and how you present it. It can be used as a study guide. So let's say you have a running, whether that's using Padlet or using Express to create notes for the class. And so anytime you make an update, you just republish the link. It doesn't change the characters of your link. And so once you're in the class or you go on to your next class, you can just always refer back to that original link. And so there are multi uses of how it can be incorporated. So just in closing, I want to share with you well, first, were there any other questions about anything?
I got several, but we got time.
Yeah, we got time. I want to show you a video that one of our faculty members created who's kind of in your lane. He's in communication and media studies. So he chose to do his video journal using Adobe Premiere Pro. And so this is what he created. And so in closing, I just want to leave you with these words from Dr. Davidson, which states, transforming higher education for the 21st century is not about throwing a lot of tech into classrooms. What we need instead is to rethink higher education so that our students are digitally literate, so that they understand, gain insight into, and maybe even exert more control over the technologies that have changed and sometimes dominated our lives and will do so even more in the future. And that is digital Rams.